now, this session. And to introduce Anthony Albanese, I'm asking Keir Starmer, please. Keir.
Thank you. Thank you, conference. Thank you. It is an absolute privilege to introduce a friend of mine, a real inspiration to those of us on the left, someone who is leading his country in the politics of renewal, and of course winning a landslide victory earlier this summer in Australia. Now, Albo and I have known each other a long time. We've met in many places around the world. We were in Canada early this year together at the G7, and we decided to brave a walk around the forest when there was rumours of some bear lurking around. But Albo, it was really great to see you there. And this week, it's been a particular pleasure to welcome Albo to our country at the Global Progressives Conference on Friday as a key partner in standing up to the divisive politics of the right, taking the fight for the soul of our countries to those who peddle grievance, armed with our shared values and our determination to deliver change. And then later on Friday to my home in Downing Street, where Albo came armed with cans of Albo beer. I kid you not. And now here in Liverpool as part of our family, our sister party, a fellow member of this great movement. I am delighted because our two nations don't just share history and values, a monarch, and even a language, but Albo and I are actively working together to make our world more secure and to improve the lives of people in our countries. From our AUKUS partnership to the Australian soldiers who are standing shoulder to shoulder with British troops, training Ukrainians for the front line. From our free trade deal and our investment in each other's countries, creating wealth, jobs and opportunity, and boosting our economies. This is a relationship that really matters. So I am delighted to introduce to the stage a true friend of Britain, my friend, the Prime Minister of Australia.
Well, thank you so much for that very warm Labor Party welcome. Here in Liverpool, we're 10,000 miles from where I joined the Labor Party, a long and winding road. Got that in early. But in our mighty global movement, you never walk alone. And just for balance, a shout out to all the evidence supporters out there as well. And thank you to my friend Keir for the Arsenal jumper. Yes, look after it. Number 31 on the back that I received on Friday. Thank you to my mate and your leader, Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Thank you for the extraordinary honour of inviting me to speak to your conference, and thank you for your kind and generous introduction. Keir and I got to know each other pretty well during our time as leaders of the opposition, back when we thought that was the toughest job in politics. In opposition, I was always grateful for the chance to share ideas and compare notes. In government, I value the opportunities we have to work together and get results. to take action together on issues that really matter to our two nations and to the wider world, from standing together with the coalition of the willing to help secure peace on Ukraine's terms, to striving together to mobilise global action on climate change, to investing together so our citizens can build and crew a new generation of submarines through our AUKUS security partnership, and working together to break the cycle of violence in the Middle East and build something better by recognising the state of Palestine as a step towards the two-state solution. We want to see and we understand that is so essential for Israelis and Palestinians to be able to live in lasting and secure peace. Can I also acknowledge a great Australian, a Labor legend, and my friend, the 27th Prime Minister of Australia, Julia Gillard, who's here with us. Friends, none of us who join the Labor movement, whether in Australia or here in the UK, do so in search of an easy life. And no one comes to a Labor conference expecting a quiet weekend. Our conferences are big, diverse and passionate family gatherings. And like any family, when we all get together, occasionally we have our differences. Commentators sometimes fixate on those. But the debates that we hold here are not just healthy, they're essential. They are a sign of life. The energy and enthusiasm of our rank and file members has always been the beating heart of our movement. As parliamentarians, we stand on your shoulders. And as parties, we draw our strength from solidarity of values, not uniformity of thought. That's what all of us who belong to the Labor movement understand. The reason passions run high at our conferences is because we really care, because the stakes are really high, because what happens here really matters, because our conferences are about what we want for our respective countries. We deal with real issues grounded in the real lives and aspirations of the people that we seek to serve. And just like Liverpool itself, this great city of creativity, invention and reinvention, our conference has always been a place for us to define our mission and renew our purpose. That is how we have endured and evolved. By having the courage to test ourselves, to demand more of each other, and by demonstrating to a new generation that we are alive to the challenges they face and engaged in the work of solutions. That's what both our nations did after the Second World War, when Clement Attlee and Ben Chifley and their Labor governments worked to build societies worthy of those who fought to defend the world from fascism and tyranny, by opening the doors of opportunity through education, by creating secure, well-paid jobs in manufacturing, by treating housing as not only the need but the right of every citizen, by making medicine affordable for all through Australia's world-leading pharmaceutical benefits scheme, and with the launch of that great pioneering endeavour in universal healthcare, the National Health Service. A promise that still binds, defines and drives both our Labor governments, that no matter where you live or how much you earn, you should be able to access and afford the healthcare you need. The same work of renewal drove Harold Wilson and Gough Whitlam through the 1960s and 70s, when their governments made equality for women a Labor cause, when they grasped that for Labor to continue to be the party of fairness and justice, we had to become a party for the elimination of discrimination and prejudice. Just as in the 1980s and 90s, Bob Hawke and Paul Keating passed the torch to Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, where in both our countries, Labor was able to remain the party of compassion and opportunity by embracing our role as the party of openness, aspiration and prosperity. In the pages of the history books, and with the benefit of hindsight, all that seems like a natural progression, but we know different. We know every generation encountered resistance. We know every generation had to overcome sceptics and cynics. And we know that every Labor generation understood that to fulfil their purpose, achieve their goals, give life to their values, and keep faith with the people and movement they served, they had to be in government. Government is where you get things done. The Labor mission has never been a theoretical exercise or just a rhetorical one. Our work is measured in deeds, and it depends on delivery, on change our citizens can see, tangible, practical outcomes that make a positive difference to people's lives. This is where all of you here in the UK had the most valuable resource for any Labor government, the asset every progressive leader in every positive and ambitious government wishes they had more of: time. To give you some sense of that, in Australia, my colleagues and I were re-elected less than 5 months ago, and yet our next election is due before yours. For Labor governments, every single day counts, because it takes time to turn promises into progress. It takes time for plans to work and be seen to work, for inflation to fall, wages to rise, new homes to be finished, new energy connected, new hospitals to open, new investments in education to flow into results. It takes time to tackle problems that have been created over decades. It takes time to repay trust by delivering on commitments, and in doing so, build trust for future action. It takes time to make change with people and make change work for people. And none of that means we can expect or ask for patience. Cost of living pressures do not wait. Communities that need new jobs and homes cannot wait. Families that need better schools and hospitals cannot wait. The challenges that the world throws at us, from economic turmoil to threats to our national security, never wait. And the action that we need to take on climate change, the work we need to do to seize the jobs and opportunities of clean energy, that cannot wait. So while governments always need to be able to tell the difference between what's urgent and what's important, in the end, we have to do both. To take immediate action in a way that anticipates and creates future opportunities, to navigate stormy seas while always keeping our eyes on the horizon, and to bring both optimism and urgency to the work of delivery, to acknowledge the pressures that people are under, explain the causes and take action to help, to make it clear that while we cannot always predict or control the challenges we will face, we can determine how we will respond. In Australia, our election came against the backdrop of the worst global inflation since the 1980s and the biggest international energy crisis since the 1970s. And there was no quick fix, no easy answer. These same circumstances had brought about the defeat of incumbents around the world, and had some predicting that our first-term Labor government would be defeated or reduced to minority. But one of the reasons we won re-election, and indeed were able to increase our majority, is because in difficult times we offered people real hope. We didn't pretend that we had solved every problem in just 3 years, but we could point to an economy that was turning the corner. Inflation down, wages up, unemployment low, and interest rates starting to fall. And we offered a second-term agenda that built on the patient and disciplined work we had done in our first term. A positive plan to cut taxes, boost wages, build homes, and make it easier to see a doctor for free. That is the work we are focused on delivering now. That's the essential task of every Labor government, to apply our timeless Labor values to the challenges of our time. And friends, in 2025, our values and purpose and effort are needed more than ever before. In an era where artificial intelligence is transforming our economies, we must stand up for secure jobs and fair wages. We must show our citizens that what Harold Wilson called the white heat of technology can forge new opportunities for working people. At a time where young people feel the housing market is beyond their reach, we must build the new homes and create the economic opportunity that revives the dream of home ownership. For cities and regions on the front lines of economic change, we must invest in the education and training that empowers people to fulfil their potential. And we must build the clean energy that will power new jobs and industries. We approach this work with determination and with optimism, because all of these problems can be solved, all of these opportunities can be seized, but only if our people continue to see our institutions as the best way to make it happen. We all know this is a time when trust in governments and institutions is under challenge. We all sense this is an era where our capacity for peaceful disagreement is being tested. But what I see here in UK Labor, under this man, this leader, this Prime Minister, my friend, is the same determination that I know lives in every member of the Australian Labor Party, an absolute resolve to stand together and defend democracy itself. Friends, this is where one of the oldest choices that both our parties made remains one of the most important. In Australia and here in the United Kingdom, the trade union movement chose to advance the rights of working people, not just in workplaces, but by forming a political party. In Australia and the UK, Labor, as a movement, chose democracy. We chose Parliament and progress over protest. We chose to be both a movement for change and a party of government. We chose to make ourselves part of a system where our political fortunes rise and fall on the power of ideas and the judgment of our citizens. We set ourselves the task of winning people's trust and proving worthy of it. And make no mistake, when we chose democracy, we chose the hard road, because building to last takes time. Delivering change is more difficult than just demanding it. Working within the system is tougher than railing against it. And creating solutions requires more of us than just shouting slogans. In a democracy, being a party of government means grappling with uncertainty and complexity. It means dealing with the gritty realities of the world as it is. And it means making, and yes, owning, tough decisions in the national interest, being honest with people about the scale of the challenges facing us and the time and effort required to meet them. But friends, we wouldn't have it any other way. We're better for all of that. Our plans and policies are stronger for it. Our vision and our ambition for our people is bigger because of it. And our countries are better for it too. Because in the end, the hard road is the only one that takes us anywhere. Tearing things down is easy, but it doesn't leave you with anything. The low politics of fear and resentment are easy, but they only divide the country, they don't advance it. The things worth doing are hard, and things worth doing are worth fighting for. Friends, democracy was a defining choice that both our parties made. I want to finish with an old truth that both our movements know, a message that the men and women of the trade union movement carried on their banners more than a century ago. Unity of Labor is the hope of the world. That has always been Labor at our best. Unity of party and unity of purpose. A movement that looks out to the world with hope for the future and works together to make it better. Unity of Labor reflects the power of solidarity to drive change. And it reflects the responsibility of Labor to promote unity, to foster cooperation and understanding in the world, and to build cohesion, respect and harmony at home. We do that by embracing patriotism as a truly progressive cause, by demonstrating that our love of country is what drives us to serve it, and also to change it for the better, by encouraging pride in everything that sets our nations apart from the world, by building faith in everything that brings us together, and by making it clear that the strength and power of the symbols that unite us lies in the faith that they belong to all of our citizens, not just some. Because in both our nations, our democracy, our laws and our values are for all of us to take pride in, for all of us to protect, for all of us to build on. Unity of Labor is the hope of the world, and in that spirit of hope, unity and solidarity, I wish you all the very best for an absolutely fantastic conference. Thank you for having me.
Everybody take the seats. Building out. Okay, everybody, I'll just let everybody get settled and then we'll get started again. Settling could take a while. Settling could take a while.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Quite a big turnover.
This is good. Where's the gym?
much talking, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to mention that. Right. Are we nearly there, conference? I'm sure there's seats for everyone. Come on. I think that'll do. Yeah, that'll do, will it? Yeah. Okay, well, conference, I'm sure you'd agree that was a fantastic way to start the afternoon session, followed on by equally fantastic bits of the session, I think. First off, we have speakers from Scotland, the first of which is our new Secretary of State, Douglas Alexander. Douglas, thank you.
Conference, it is an honour to address you as Labour's Secretary of State for Scotland. And let me start by paying tribute to the work of my friend and my predecessor, who kept the flag flying for Scottish Labour in the toughest of times. So, Ian, thank you for the work that you've done and the service you have given our party. Now, at last year's general election, when, let us remember, we held just 2 seats in Scotland, we made a promise that there would be Scots at the heart of a Labour government. And just over a year later, right across government, Scottish Labour ministers are harnessing the power of the United Kingdom to deliver for Scotland. Not just Ian's work on the creative industries at the Department of Culture, Media and Sport, but Kirsty McNeil's work to deliver local regeneration from the Scotland office, Michael Shanks and Martin McCluskey's work to deliver good jobs and clean energy from the Department of Energy, Blair McDougall's work to deliver our modern industrial strategy, and Zubair Ahmed's work at the Department of Health, proving that with a Labour government, waiting lists come down. We pledged, conference, that a vote for Scottish Labour wasn't just a vote to send a message, it was a vote to send a government. A promise made, conference, a promise delivered. Now, we all understand that across Scotland and indeed across the whole of the United Kingdom, that people are still suffering. Too many people feel ignored and forgotten, and there is still so much to do. We hear you. We get it. But the simple truth is this: no government, however determined, could undo all the damage of 14 years in just 14 months. So I want to assure you today that the work of change in Scotland is now underway. And the difference that we're making as a Labour government inspired by Labour values is both meaningful and measurable. Our Labour government has already raised the minimum wage and delivered a pay rise for 200,000 of the lowest paid workers in Scotland. We've delivered a £10 billion frigate deal that will secure 2,000 well-paid unionised jobs and so guaranteed the future of shipbuilding on the Clyde. We've delivered the largest budget settlement for Scotland in the history of devolution, burying Tory austerity once and for all. And conference, thanks to the campaigning efforts of our Scottish Labour MPs, last week a Labour-led Scotland office delivered direct funding of almost £300 million for regeneration to communities across Scotland, from the inner cities to the outer isles. So why, with the UK government now delivering record levels of investment to Scotland, do our communities feel that their public services are worse and not better? The facts don't lie. 20 years of the SNP running Scotland has taken our nation backwards on education, on health, on housing, on ferries, and backwards on pretty much everything for which they are responsible. That's why their election strategy seems to be, we've made a mess of everything we're responsible for, so let's talk about anything other than how we're running Scotland. like independence, or Nigel Farage, or independence, or Donald Trump, or independence, or pretty much anything other than the present state of Scotland. Never has so much political capital been accumulated by one political party to so little effect. 20 years of Salmond, Sturgeon and Swinney, and there is so little to show for it. Can you really claim to be stronger for Scotland when you've weakened our public services and stagnated in government? Jackie Baillie put it best. The truth is, if John Swinney knew how to fix the challenges Scotland faces, he'd have done it by now. But conference, if the SNP won't talk about their record, then we surely will. In our hospitals, 1 in 6 of us are on waiting lists in Scotland. 100,000 Scots waiting in preventable pain for more than a year. In our schools, a sorry record of rising violence and falling standards. A housing crisis that continues to worsen, an economy held back. The majority of the Scottish public already know that the SNP are bad enough that they deserve to lose. So our challenge over the coming months is to convince the majority that we're good enough that we deserve to win. Together, from now until next May, we will make the case that a different and better future for our nation is possible. The SNP as a nationalist party is dedicated to making Scotland independent. Everyone understands that. But the harsh truth is that if you wake up every morning thinking, what can I do today to move Scotland closer towards independence? That means you start the day focused on difference, on division, and on grievance. And in today's world of political, economic, and technological tumult, that approach is just letting Scotland down. Now is the time to focus on building and not breaking, on cooperating, not on conflict, on working together and not pulling apart. We need and deserve in Scotland a First Minister committed to solidarity and not separation, to ensure that Scotland's aspirations are backed by the full strength of the United Kingdom. That is why the next First Minister has to be someone who will put the people of Scotland first, before constitutional obsession, or party advantage, or populist politics. Someone who will have both the ideas and, frankly, the energy. Someone willing to tackle the failure and complacency and be the person who wakes up every morning thinking, what can I do today to make Scotland's public services fit for the people of Scotland? And who can I work with today to make that happen faster? My friend, our leader, Anas Sarwar, has dedicated his life to public service. From working as an NHS dentist in Paisley, to calling out racism and speaking up for the marginalised, to delivering 37 Scottish Labour MPs, and most recently delivering victory in Hamilton, Larkhall, Stonehouse, and yes, in Barrhead. Anas Sarwar Anas Sarwar just keeps listening, keeps working, keeps leading, and yes, keeps winning. Conference, let me ask you to show your appreciation for our Scottish Labour leader, the man I believe, with your support, will be Scotland's next First Minister, Anas Sarwar.
A year ago, we delivered a UK Labour government, and in just 7 months' time, we can start the journey for change in Scotland too. And that election is a choice. Do we carry on as we are, or do we take a new direction? Do we see our Parliament as a vehicle for protest or a vehicle for change? And that choice is a simple one. A third decade of the SNP, carrying on the managed decline, or do we take a new direction with a Scottish Labour government and a Scottish Labour First Minister working every day to make life better for the people of Scotland and see government as service to you? Scottish Labour, ambitious for Scotland, ambitious for the future, ready to win and ready to serve. Conference, thank you. Conference, thank you. It's an honour to be with you here in Liverpool today, and it's fantastic to be introduced by our new Secretary of State for Scotland, Douglas Alexander. Douglas, as Secretary of State and as co-chair of our Scottish election campaign, alongside the brilliant Jackie Bailey, I know... Yeah, big cheer for Jackie! I know you will bring your passion, intellect and energy to help deliver another historic election victory in Scotland next year. And Douglas, you're carrying on the important work done by our dear friend Ian Murray. The conference, Douglas and Ian are now just 2 out of 9 Scottish Labour MPs serving our great country as ministers, proving that Scotland is at the heart of our Labour government and that Scotland is the beating heart of Labour's future. And since getting rid of the Tories last summer, we have begun the work of clearing up their mess and changing our country for the better. But let's be honest, it's not been easy, and it was never going to be. That's why we need to be more confident in telling our Labour story. We can't expect the right-wing press to do our job for us. We can't afford to be shy about the successes we have had, or about the positive changes we are making. If we aren't going to talk about our successes, then no one else will. If we aren't going to tell our positive story, then people aren't going to hear it. So let's not be shy about our Labour story and what we have achieved in the past 15 months. Our new deal for working people, the biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation. Raising wages for over 3 million British workers. Ending the scandal of fire and rehire. Scrapping exploitative zero-hour contracts and improving rights for millions of workers. That's the difference we are making to so many lives. So let's not be shy about that. We have delivered economic stability after years of Tory chaos. And you know what that means? That means that the average mortgage in our country is now £1,500 lower since Labour came to power. And the average wage in our country is now £1,800 higher since Labour came to power. So a full-time working couple with a mortgage could now be £5,000 better off. And that's thanks to this Labour government. So let's not be shy about that. We have returned the United Kingdom to the top table in the world. We've led the way in calling for peace and security across the globe. We've stood by Ukraine in their struggle against Russian aggression. We have stood with our NATO allies in the defence of our European borders. We have called for a lasting peace and an end to the illegal occupation and the release of hostages in Israel and Palestine. And we have, at the UN General Assembly, finally recognised the state of Palestine, righting a historic wrong and ending almost a century-long injustice. So let's not be shy about that. Because, Conference, this is a Labour government promoting peace, securing trade deals and standing up for Britain on the world stage, meaning more investment, more jobs and more exports and better outcomes for Scottish workers and Scottish businesses. Trade deals with the EU, India and the US that will increase exports by billions of pounds, attract billions in investment and create tens of thousands of new, well-paid jobs. So let's not be shy about that. In Conference, I want to share a personal story. My first ever political campaign, when I was just 16 years old, was to try and save shipbuilding on the Clyde. But what has this Labour government delivered in just 15 months? 15 years of work for Clyde shipbuilders, securing thousands of jobs, a £10 billion deal that is the largest export deal in the history of shipbuilding in the UK, securing the future of shipbuilding in my home city of Glasgow for years to come. So let's not be shy about that. And after a decade and a half of Tory misrule, this UK Labour government has ended austerity once and for all. This is the difference that a Labour government is making. So let's not be shy about that. And none of this would have been possible if we hadn't got rid of the rotten Tories last year. A UK Labour government improving lives across the country. The conference, the truth is that we need to go further and shout louder about what we have done. Because the fact is, we are allowing our opponents to set the political weather too often. We are changing lives for the better, but we have to be more confident in telling our story. Confident in how we're improving lives for the better. Confident in how our Labour values reflect those of our great country. And confident about the UK's future. But the work of change is not being felt equally across the UK. Because in Scotland, we are being held back by a tired and out-of-touch SNP government. Let's look at the contrast. In England, under Labour, NHS waiting lists are falling. In Scotland, under the SNP, 1 in 6 Scots are on an NHS waiting list. Here, patients are being seen quicker, but not in Scotland. Do you know there are more people waiting over 2 years on an NHS waiting list in Glasgow alone than the whole of England combined? Here, schools are now recovering after a decade and a half of Tory misrule, while under the SNP, our schools are falling down the international league tables. Here, the Labour government is getting spades in the ground to build new homes, while in Scotland, the SNP are failing to deal with a national housing emergency. A UK Labour government is returning neighbourhood policing to local communities. But in Scotland, under the SNP, police numbers are cut and police stations are closing. So if you want to feel change in Scotland, change in the parts of government that touch you and your family every day, then we need to beat the SNP, replace the First Minister and have a new occupant in Butte House. And in just 7 months, with your support, Scottish Labour will deliver just that. Because Scotland can't afford another decade of SNP rule, opportunities squandered, potential wasted. A UK Labour government delivered record funding to Scotland that the SNP could have spent improving our NHS and our schools. Since the election, they have had an extra £5.2 billion to spend. £5.2 billion. But what have we got to show for it in Scotland? Where has the money gone? So what have they done with Labour's record budget settlement? 880,000 Scots on an NHS waiting list. 100,000 patients waiting for over a year for treatment. And record numbers are having to shell out and pay privately to get the care they need. Where has the money gone? Despite record funding, the reality is when Scots need our NHS, too often it's not there and they are let down. Because the brutal truth is that Scotland's NHS won't survive a third decade of John Swinney and this knackered and out-of-touch SNP government. Record funding from Labour for our NHS in Scotland, but where has the money gone? This is just characteristic of an SNP government that cannot be trusted with your money. Scots working hard and paying their taxes all their lives, but when they look at Scotland's public services, what do they see? Cuts to police numbers, rising violent crime, falling education standards, 10,000 homeless children, and Scots being forced to emigrate to get jobs as doctors, nurses and teachers. Scots paying more and more and getting less and less from the SNP. So we are rightly demanding to know where has the money gone? We need to stop the SNP embezzling opportunities from Scots with their incompetence. And that's why there's a stark choice before Scotland in just 7 months. More failure and decline with the SNP, or a new direction with Scottish Labour. The choice is the past with John Swinney or the future. That is the simple and straight choice before the people of Scotland. And the need for change to unlock Scotland's potential could not be clearer. Scotland is a nation full of ambition, potential and opportunity. We have world-leading businesses, unique natural resources and global brands that command respect across the world. We are world leaders in renewable technology, home to cutting-edge scientific and tech institutions and several renowned research-intensive universities. Scotland has so much to offer, but the truth is we are being held back by an SNP government that looks for excuses, not solutions. But their time is running out. They are now the past, we are the future, and we have only 7 months to make that future a reality. And Conference, we have defied the odds and proven the pollsters wrong before, and we will do it again. They said we couldn't win in Scotland last year. We did. They said we couldn't win in the Hamilton by-election. We did. And we are going to do the same again next year. And let me say something about that by-election in Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse, because it's a good preview of the election. The gutter politics and bile of reform and the cheap and cynical politics of the SNP, while we as Scottish Labour were relentlessly focused on the issues that matter. In Hamilton, reform attempted to set community against community and even cast doubt on my identity. The truth is, Farage probably didn't even know where Hamilton was. He probably thought it was a show in the West End of London. So I say to Nigel, Scotland is my home. I am working day and night to change my country for the better. My story is Scotland's story, whereas you are a pathetic, poisonous little man that doesn't care about Scotland, doesn't understand Scotland, and Scotland will utterly reject you. Thank you. And friends, all reform can do is create noise. All they're interested in is creating noise. And all they risk doing is keeping the failing SNP in power. And the SNP and John Swinney, what did they shamefully do in that by-election? They talked up reform and attempted to push people towards them, because they would rather do that than talk about their own record. Well, I am glad that the good people of Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse sent them both packing and led the way, and I'm confident that Scotland will do the same next year. And that success in Hamilton was down to so many of you in this room, the Labour family coming together to once again deliver change. So, Conference, it's now on us to do that once again, to prove that the Scottish Labour Party are the only party that can deliver the new direction Scotland needs. It's on us to show that we are ambitious for Scotland and ambitious about our future. Because the truth is that Scotland's potential is limitless. Our ambition of our people is unlimited, but it's being held back. The entrepreneur wanting to expand their business being held back by punishing business rates. The worker struggling to earn because they're stuck on an NHS waiting list. And the family saving to buy a home but who've been simply priced out of the market. That's whose side we are on. And we are ready to deliver the new direction they need. So we will take on the noisy minority and deliver for the hard-working majority. We will fix our NHS, clear the backlogs, return to the family doctor and end the ATM rush for a GP. We will improve our schools and close the opportunity gap. We will support our high streets and grow our economy. And we will bring back community policing and deliver safer streets. And we will end the waste and respect your money. Scottish Labour, ambitious for Scotland, ambitious for the future, new ideas, new thinking, new leadership for Scotland. That's what we'll deliver together. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Anas, and thanks for your support. Very good. Thank you, Conference. We're now moving over to Wales. Please welcome to the lectern in a minute Joe Stevens, Secretary of State for Wales and MP for Cardiff East. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you, Conference. Thank you, Chair. A year ago, I stood on this stage and addressed you as Labour's first female Secretary of State for Wales in the first Labour government for 14 years. And I spoke about our mission to put Wales at the centre of our decade of national renewal. Wales at the heart of our modern industrial strategy. Wales at the forefront of our green revolution. And Wales leading the way on innovation and technologies of the future. Now, during the past year, we have worked in partnership with our brilliant First Minister, Eluned Morgan, and Labour colleagues in Welsh Government to boost the economy, to improve business confidence, to increase investment, and to create thousands of new jobs right across Wales. And we've done this because Labour is the only party on the side of working people. The only party that is prioritising strengthening our economy, improving living standards, putting more money in the pockets of every household and the rest of the UK and Wales on a path of national renewal. None of what we've achieved together since the election last year would have been possible without the determination, graft and teamwork in Parliament. And I want to pay tribute to Nia Griffith for her time in government. Nia's experience and wisdom has been invaluable to me. And I also want to welcome Anna McMorrin and Claire Hughes to the Wales office, who, alongside my PPS Becky Gittins and our Lord spokesperson Ruth Anderson, are an exceptional team of Labour women delivering for the whole of Wales. But a special and huge thank you to our 27 Welsh Labour MPs, whose tireless campaigning and advocacy for their constituents drives us on every day to go further and faster on the road of national renewal. And as always, I want to recognise the grit, the determination, the leadership and the friendship provided by our First Minister and Welsh Labour leader, Eluned Morgan. Now, the past 14 months have been all about delivery, all about two Labour governments delivering for the people of Wales. Welsh Labour fought hard against the years of Tory austerity, and now this UK Labour government has ended austerity with record budget settlements that provide billions more for Welsh Government to invest in public services. The Tory cost of living supercharged, the crisis supercharged by Liz Truss's economic chaos, caused real hardship for so many households in Wales. We inherited their catastrophic mess last year, and the UK government have been fixing the foundations. That's why we gave up to 160,000 workers in Wales a record pay rise through increases to the national living and minimum wage. It's why the UK and Welsh Labour governments have together started employment schemes in Denbighshire, Neath Port Talbot and Blaenau Gwent to help people back into work, to put money into pockets and to help raise standards of living for those in our communities that need the most help. It's why we've invested over £500 million to secure the future of steelmaking in South Wales, to help steel workers, supply chain businesses and their workers through the transition, but also to support local businesses to find new opportunities to expand and create new jobs. It's why we've established free ports and investment zones in every corner of Wales, driving billions of pounds in direct new investment in advanced manufacturing, floating offshore wind and much, much more, creating new jobs near to where people live in sustainable industries for now and for generations to come. And it's why we've invested nearly £500 million into Welsh Rail, reversing the Tories' historic underinvestment so we can build new stations, we can have more and faster trains that will connect the people of Wales to these new opportunities. And we can already see the impact that our Labour priorities are having in Wales. Unemployment is down. Interest rates have been cut 5 times, bringing down the cost of new family mortgages by about £1,000 a year. Inward investment into Wales has risen 30%. Yes, that's right, 30% in the last year alone. And real terms wages are consistently rising faster than inflation. But conference, I have to give you this big warning. This investment, this tireless focus on improving living standards, creating new jobs and making our public services fit for the future is under threat. Farage has turned up in Wales with patronising politics, with disrespect, division and derision for our communities. Reform UK don't care about Wales. They haven't got any Welsh policies. They haven't got a Welsh leader. They can't even spell Caerphilly right. But as much as we roll our eyes at their condescending, nativist tone, they are a serious threat. They're a threat to our communities, a threat to our NHS, and if you work in Welsh public services, they are a threat to your livelihoods. And the other nationalist bedfellows, Plaid Cymru, demonstrate every day how they're not a serious party and cannot be trusted with the levers of government. Plaid exists only to rip our nation apart, and at a time of global instability and threats to our national security, to rip us out of NATO. Constitutional obsessions backed by fantasy economics. More unfunded spending commitments than a Liz Truss mini-budget. How much would Plaid's disastrous plan for independence cost? Well, conference, I can tell you, because the UK government analysis has found that Plaid's plan for independence would cost Wales over £21 billion each and every year just to maintain the same level of services we have today. That's more than £11,000 for every working age adult in tax rises and austerity cuts every single year. Now, if Plaid really want to be taken seriously, they need to be honest and confirm whether they're going to tax Welsh families into poverty or cut public services to the bone. Labour has ended austerity in Wales, so don't let Reform or Plaid impose it on Wales again. Because conference, next May, we know that Wales faces a choice between renewal and decline, and between decency or division. And together as Labour governments, we are setting out the path of renewal towards a fairer, more prosperous Wales, proud of our history and in control of our future. At the moment, the world is and feels uncertain. Global instability is having an impact not just on our safety, but on the cost of our energy, the cost of everyday purchases. And that is why this Labour government has taken the necessary action to prioritise our national security, living costs and people's livelihoods. And our Labour Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, has restored the UK's reputation on the world stage. He's delivered trade deals that will lower food costs, reduce burdens on businesses and create jobs. He's invested in our safety and our security. Keir has set the example of strong leadership. Leadership that, unlike Reform or Plaid, demonstrates that this Labour government will never play politics with people's lives. And nothing demonstrates the choice Wales faces next year more clearly than the steps this Labour government have taken in just the last 3 weeks. So, whilst Reform MPs are absent from Parliament, they only turn up really to vote against workers' rights, they're out there apologising for Putin, undermining our country, our businesses and our people to our global partners. Meanwhile, I've been in Caerphilly launching Wales's defence growth deal that will strengthen our armed forces and create new high-skilled jobs in Wales's defence sector. And whilst Plaid championed their plan for independence, just this week we have launched our Pride in Place programme, which will invest over £200 million to revitalise high streets and regenerate communities right across Wales, from Conway to Ceredigion to Caerphilly. That's the choice for Wales at the Senedd election next May. Labour on the side of our people and communities, or those nationalist parties looking to divide and deprive. Only two Labour governments working together can and will keep Farage out of Wales and lead our country on that path of renewal. Conference, that is the election we must fight. That is the election we must win. So let's get out there and do it together. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Joe. Very inspiring. We're now going to see another video which will then introduce Eluned. Yeah. Somewhere.
With the people of Wales behind us, we will win and build a better future. We're not just fixing what's broke, building something better.
That's all right, sit down, sit down. Well, diolch yn fawr, shwmai. Shwmai, that's how we greet each other in Wales. So let's try that again, shwmai. Excellent, diolch yn fawr. I'm Eluned Morgan. If you haven't seen much of me before, get ready, because you're about to see a lot more of me, because we've got one hell of a fight on our hands in the run-up to May's Senedd election. And make no mistake, we are in this together, right across the UK. All of us on the front line, fighting for everything we believe in, everything we've built together. Now, literally, the story of Wales is entwined with the story of Labour. From the coalfields that gave us Bevan and the valleys that raised Kinnock. For more than a century, Labour has been the voice of our nation. Wales built us as a party, and in return, we built Wales. But let's be brutally honest. The polls are not looking good. People are angry. They're disillusioned. Our voice, the voice that's always fought for them, is getting drowned out by the carnival of charlatans and the circus of snake oil salesmen. Now, Reform blames foreigners. Plaid blame Westminster. Divisive nationalism in different forms. Different poison, same bottle. all with answers that sound brilliant, until you ask, how? They can't tell you, but I can. Because unlike the merchants of false promises, unlike the peddlers of easy answers, Welsh Labour doesn't just talk, we deliver. Using the powers of devolution to build a nation that doesn't just reflect our values, but fights for them every single day through what we call the Red Welsh Way. Now, three principles underpin everything we do: equality, security, community. We're the only part of the UK with a social partnership enshrined in law, the only one protecting future generations in law, the only nation giving every primary school child a free school meal, and the only government to stop profiteering in children's care homes, giving free prescriptions for all, free bus passes for older people, and the only government guaranteeing the real living wage for care workers. That, my friends, is socialism in action. And while we've been delivering what's Plaid's record, promises without plans, ambition without answers, easy words on independence, but when they had the chance to support our communities with extra cash, they voted with the Tories to block it. Mae brwydr anferth o'n blaenau ni yn etholiadau'r Senedd. Mae cysylltiad dwfn rhwng ein plaid ni a'n gwlad yn un sydd wedi bodoli ers canrif. Mae newid bywydau yn rhan o beth yn unig, ac mae hwn i gyd o dan fygythiad os na fyddwn ni yn ennill y flwyddyn nesaf. You can give me a clap for that bit. Now, we know that tomorrow's Wales won't be built on yesterday's achievements. Our high streets matter. I've heard it directly from people in Caerphilly, where we're facing a crucial by-election. And if we want them to thrive, we have to protect them. And that's why we'll build on the UK government's announcements and introduce new licensing powers to curb the spread of vape shops, keeping our town centres safe, balanced and welcoming. Our high streets thrive when local jobs thrive. And in Wales, we are committed to fair work. And in the next Senedd term, any business seeking Welsh Government support will need to pay the real living wage, end exploitative zero-hours contracts and open a door to trade unions. Because public money must mean public good. And we're making it easier to get to work, but also to socialise. We've spent £800 million on new trains and created a modern South Wales metro. And from December, new late-night services will run from Cardiff to the Valleys, and we're doubling trains on the Wrexham to Chester line. Now, Conference, when Labour governs in Cardiff and Westminster, partnership delivers, not in theory, but in practice, backed by the biggest financial settlement in the history of devolution. So because of that, we now have safer coal tips, higher wages for Welsh workers and 2.7 million NHS appointments delivered every month in a population of 3 million people. But our work is far from done. People need us to move faster, hit harder, deliver bigger. But without the powers and the money to fully match our ambition, it'll be much more difficult. And that's why Wales needs powers over youth justice, so our communities can shape solution, fair rail funding, and yes, control over our natural wealth, our wind, our seas, our energies, because we'll always stand up for our people and for fairer, more equal devolution. We stood firm under the Tories and we stand firm as Welsh Labour today. Because it's our membership card that says it's best. Country first. So we'll never stop pressing for every power, every pound that Wales deserves. But while we're building the future, others are busy polishing their wrecking ball. Reforms plans? Gut the NHS. Flog and frack everything that moves. Turn Wales into their testing ground for an ideology that puts profits before people. To them, our health service isn't a lifeline, it's a profit line. A business opportunity waiting to be carved up. We've seen this play before in Wales. Nigel Farage's UKIP party elected 7 members in 2016, and by the end of the term, 6 of them had left, drawn by infighting, broken promises and internal chaos. And just this week, their former Welsh leader admitted taking Russian bribes. And right now, they're attacking our support for Ukrainian refugees. This lot are putting Wales first. They're not putting Wales first, they're putting Putin first. Now, Wales doesn't need fantasy politics. Mark my words. Wales will fall into chaos if either Plaid or Reform wins in May. What we need is experience and stability in an age of instability, and that's what Welsh Labour can offer. So, conference, are we going to stand here and let vultures tear the heart out of all we've built? Welsh Labour is ready to stand up, but we need our entire movement behind us, because the result of May's contest will resonate through all our communities. So wherever you're from, stand with us. Let's build, not break. Let's show them Labour never gives up, never gives in. So are you up for the fight? Yeah. Then bring it on.
Well, just like to thank Eluned for that. That was inspiring, I think. Got you all going. Very good. So much so I'm having to go and rest now. We're changing the chair for the next session. We'll be covering the Treasurer's report and the constitutional amendments. So I'd like to welcome, looks round his shoulder, Abdi Dewal. Is Abdi here to chair the next session? Of course he is. Thank you. Thank you, Abdi. And thanks, conference, for your patience.
Nearly tripped over that. Right, let's get some water going. Good afternoon, conference. I hope people aren't leaving because I'm starting to chair. But anyway, good afternoon, conference. Hope you're all right. We're now going to welcome to the lectern the Labour Party Treasurer, Mike Page.
Diolch, Chair. Prynawn da pawb. Conference, I'm Mike Payne and I'm proud to be your party Treasurer and to present the audited accounts for 2024, which begin on page 46 of the conference report. I'm extremely proud to have been able to serve as an active trade unionist for nearly 5 decades. I know it doesn't show, this is where you're supposed to say it doesn't show. And as an officer of the GMB for over 30 years. Standing shoulder to shoulder with working people in their struggles and in their victories. And conference, what I've learned in that time is a simple but true. The real tools we have to deliver lasting change don't just come from our values or our words, but from how we choose to organise, how we resource, and how we sustain our campaigns to deliver policies for people across the whole of the UK. Policies like the Employment Rights Act. When we invest properly in the fights that matter to our members and to our communities, we give ourselves the strength and organisation to win. That is how we turn solidarity into action, and action into the results that matter most to working people. We also know that for our party to be strong electorally, it must be strong in its foundations. That means resilient, sustainable finances, the kind of financial health that allows us to fight for what we believe, to grow and to win for all people across the UK. In the last year, we have taken important steps to stabilise our party's finances. After a crucial election year, to protect our vital limited resources and to ensure that every pound raised is spent in such a way that it delivers maximum value for the party. As you walk around this conference centre this week, I wanted to thank the team who have worked so tirelessly to put together the biggest conference that Labour has ever held, and also to take time to talk to the stallholders that are here and have donated this week. I'm pleased to advise conference that we now have a completely revitalised finance team, with a new Chief Finance Officer, Debbie Giwa, the first female CFO in our party's history. Croeso, Debbie, welcome.